Hello everybody, welcome back to the Team Cosmic Bodies YouTube channel. I'm Coach Kyle, and today we're going to be talking about, in this video, we're going to be talking about what do you do when you overeat in a prep or binge in a prep. What do you do if you overeat or binge after your prep? So this is for like physique competitors. It can be for lifestyle clients too. And I guess it does matter with context and preference, so it would change if you were like my athlete. I might say something different because of your context, but these are just kind of like basic and general things that come to my mind. So let's say you're a physique athlete or just even a lifestyle client. Well, it does change. So let's just say you're in a fat loss phase and you overeat. Actually, the question was during prep, so I'm gonna just act like you're a physique athlete. So you overeat during a prep, and let's say we still have a lot of time on our side. I probably wouldn't do much of an adjustment. You overeat, you say it's by 500 calories or 200 or 300 calories. It's not that big of a deal. You overate mostly on carbohydrates or something like that. You just slipped up and you overate. The next day, if you told me about it, I probably wouldn't make much of an adjustment. I'll just say, hey, get back to normal. Let's just go back into the routine of things. You know, we have a longer prep. It's not that big of a deal. I don't want to make an adjustment. Especially if it's not a habit. Like people slip up. As long as you are learning from the mistake, one slip up, if here's a bucket and this is just, drops into a bucket, that one meal isn't going to spill the bucket over, right? That one drop isn't going to spill the bucket over. So if you overeat one meal on a long prep and you look great and you're advanced, it's not that big of a deal. I would just tell you to get back into the swing of things today or the next meal or the next day, and let's just get back on it and forget it happened. But let's learn from it. Let's not let this continue. Don't take advantage of me just because I said, hey, let's get back on track. You're just gonna say, oh, he didn't punish me at all for it. I'm gonna do this again. So you have to learn from it. You gotta know it is a mistake, and I probably wouldn't do much of an adjustment. If it continues to happen, I might even just pull you out of the prep or the fat loss phase because you have bigger things going on. But a lot of times what people do when they overeat is they'll restrict. So you overeat and then you restrict for a day or two, and it's really aggressive. So then you overeat again. They become this yo-yo dieting where you're overeating and restricting and overeating and restricting, and that can be a bad habit mentally, physiologically, depends how extreme it can get. It's a spectrum of how extreme it can get. An advanced tool to do if you are limited on time and I think you can handle it and you did overeat on a lot, like you did 1,000 calories, like you might even binged and ate a lot, I might take away food for the rest of your week just a little bit. So if you're in a prep, I might take away some of your food for the rest of the week and just kind of take away some of your carbs and some of your fat, just a little bit from each day for an entire week to kind of level out, because your body doesn't necessarily know what 24 hours is. It does, but it doesn't. There are such thing as rollover calories, rollover macros, and that's what matters is like the trend and what happens in like many days and weeks and over a span of contest prep. Things add up. So that is an advanced tool that you can take away a little bit. Like if we didn't have time on our side, I'm like, okay, you overate, we gotta like cut back from the next week, just a little bit of carbs, a little bit of fat, just to kind of have everything even out. But again, that can turn into something kind of ugly. Then we have that tool. And then people can just think that they can overeat on the weekends or binge, and then they restrict more during the week. And so that can be an unhealthy mindset and relationship with food and the use of the tool I'm talking about. So, it does depend on your context. If it just happened once, you have a long prep, it wasn't that big of a deal, you overate on a few rice cakes and jelly, you told me about it, you had a Snickers bar, okay, let's get over it. Let's go back to normal and forget it ever happened, but learn from it. So don't forget it ever happened, but just learn from it. If it is something big and we're limited on time, then that is an advanced tool that you can take away from the rest of your week, and so things kind of even out in the end. again, you still have to learn from those mistakes regardless. And if this is happening a lot through prep and you're not adhering to the diet and sticking to the plan, because snacking, I mean, people lie to themselves. If you're snacking and not counting things or not putting it in your spreadsheet and you think your coach isn't smart enough to know that you're not making results off a certain amount of calorie intake, they're going to know you're lying. And you're lying to yourself. So yeah, you don't want to just get caught up in that. You want to be honest with your coach, be honest with yourself about these things, and keep moving forward, keep progressing forward. You might need to stop that prep if it's continually happening. So, okay, let's say you overeat after prep. Okay, I'm gonna go through this one kind of quick. So let's say you overeat big after your prep. You did that show or two and you got grinded hard, and whether you worked with me or not, you grinded hard through that prep. And you binged and overate a lot post-show, and you gained a lot of weight immediately post-show. It's only been a week or two, and you're up 10 or 15 pounds. So what I do suggest for people is that you don't necessarily go back into restriction mode. You don't necessarily go back and do a prep or do a mini cut right away. I think what you can do if you just gain 10 or 15 pounds, it's honestly not that big of a deal. Especially if it's only been a week or two. I mean, it sucks. You want to try to do it slower if you can. You don't want to put on a bunch of body fat right away, especially when you're vulnerable and your metabolism's kind of dug itself into a hole. What you want to do if that happens to you is you do not go back into a prep. You do not go back into a deficit. You do not get back into a mini cut right away, because it's likely that your adherence is compromised at that point, and you're not going to be even able to stick to the plan anyway. So it's just going to fuck with your mind. So what you want to do is just get back on it, and you want to maintain your weight. Initially, if you overeat a lot, you could probably drop a few pounds. You drop a few pounds of water, some of the bloat, some of the carbohydrates. Like, you can restrict or go back to maintenance calories, a little bit below maintenance calories for a few days, maybe a week at most. But then you kind of want to just maintain. So let's say you gain 15 pounds really quickly. A lot of it's water retention and all this other stuff. You drink all this, all this sodium, all this stuff. Just get back onto your normal diet. Get back to your off-season habitual meals or your macros your coach gives you. So maybe your weight goes down initially. You lose 7 of it, or you lose 5 of it, or you lose 3 of it. That's fine. That can happen. So you lose some of it initially, and then from there, you don't necessarily want to keep losing and get back to your stage weight and then some, because then that's just, going against your off season now. Like, you're taking away progress from improving and putting on muscle. So what you can do is you lose initially some of the water retention, but then you maintain, and you maintain for a while, and you count your calories, and you stop eating out like a crazy person, and you just get into some new goals. You start focusing on your strength training and making goals within your training or other things going on in your life, school, work, relationships, social life, in a balanced way. You maintain your weight, and things will redistribute. Things will level out. You will lose some of that bloat and water retention and body fat, and you'll keep gaining muscle. Because if you go back into restriction mode, into deficit, you definitely won't be putting on muscle, and you'll just re-stress everything, and you might not lose quickly like you want. You might just stall out immediately, and you're like, oh God. So yeah, if you do overeat a lot and binge post-show, don't get back into a deficit right away. You might lose a little bit initially, but then maintain. Don't go back to stage weight. Maintain, things will redistribute, and then from there, whether you maintain or slowly trickle up where you're gaining like a pound a month from there, that is a good place to go. And you'll be surprised what could happen. Just because you gain 10 or 15 pounds in a week or two after your show, you could be 15, 20 pounds up 4 or 5 months post-show, and everything looks amazing and just looks like you did a perfect reverse diet or recovery diet anyway. So those are my thoughts on overeating during a prep and after a prep.